On this episode of the Stock Market Playbook, we've got Vincent Delisi. He's doing some cool stuff. He's putting AI towards his own trades, day trading, swing trading, all kinds of different things. He's got some pretty cool takes on how he's approaching the market, how he's using technology to help manage his positions, help manage his trades, and to grow everything. And you're going to love this episode, especially if you're an individual trader or even a smaller fund. There's some good stuff in here for you. Enjoy and take it away, Vincent. Okay, Vincent, before I hit this record button here, we were talking about Intel. What are you doing on Intel? What has been, this is a trade of yours, I'm assuming right now?
Yeah, I just took a day trade on it. Like I have a new scanner where it picks up unusual volume, probably about 5-10 seconds before news drops, because that's one of my favorite strategies. And Intel and Apple just linked a deal together. Intel's going to be making the chips for Apple's devices or something like that. And the stock has just ran from, I got long the 125 calls at 115. The stock was 120. I mean, now the stock's 130. I mean, I'm looking at it. So they're way in the money. The volume's huge, but Intel's just been on a rip. So
just been on a run, man. Intel is Intel's like a great success story finally from like 2000, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
.com, they were crushing it, and then they've just been in the dumps until when did this Intel move started? It kind of began, I guess, about kind of late last year. It started making some runs, a little government involvement, NVIDIA, and then it's just been ripping since. But what a great example. So tell all of our listeners, what's your kind of go-to trading style? Are you long-term, short-term? How do you approach these kinds of trades, and how do you come up with these ideas?
Yeah, I've been trading, for the last 5 or 6 years, and I started really in news trading, day trading in 2020, 2021, when I was in college, and I just saw that news moves markets because news based on fundamentals and price targets and catalysts and things like that. And that really appealed me to the market, especially with options where you could take a small amount of money and it's leverage and get a great return. Obviously, there's more risk involved. You have to educate yourself. But I've really evolved a lot as a trader over my years. I mean, now I do a lot of option selling, and I also, I do swing trading, and even just my last recent role is trading power at an institutional firm, like trading electricity. So I've traded different markets. The stock market has and will always be my first love, just because products that you use every day, you can trade. There's an opportunity every day. And also just kind of runs in my blood. I mean, my aunt works on Wall Street now. My dad used to, my grandfather did. And I've just always had this passion for it, always like trading and just seeing the new opportunities every single day.
That's super cool, man. You come from a long line of Wall Street folk. That's always a good bet. So,
Yeah.
So is trading is that your full-time gig right now?
Yeah, I trade full time, and I also run another business that I do on the side. I do a lot of like trading education as well, where I work with traders one-on-ones to help improve what they want to, their psychology, their strategy. And it's allowed me great opportunities to network with people via social media from all over the world. Really, I've had Discord rooms in the past, which have been great. And, it's nice to just have a platform and be able to pick other people's brains and then even meet traders in person who are now some of my best friends, because trading can be lonely sometimes. So,
It is, man. You sit there staring at the screen, and it takes a certain kind of person to understand why we do what we do and how we do what we do. So that's super cool. So what was your first? So it was 5 years ago when you started trading. Was that your first entrance into the market?
My first entrance into the market was really after the COVID crash, just because I was really a broke college student and a lot of my internships got canceled. And I'm like, I need to make money, and I really just need to figure out what I want to do. And, obviously you had the V-shaped recovery and there's a ton of opportunity. And like one of my first trades ever was like Pfizer's the first vaccine company to get, for COVID. And to me, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's bullish, right? I bought calls on it, and 2 weeks later, the stock's up 10%, which for Pfizer, that's a lot. And those calls are 200%. I'm like, huh,
Mhm.
news really does move stocks. And I graduated college. I did pretty well for myself, and I was able to make more money than working for someone else. I'm like, hey, let's try this trading thing out. Post on social media along the way, maybe inspire some people, build a brand, and sure enough, I mean, it's kind of what's happened.
That's awesome. That's great, man. The stock market's the great equalizer. If you just get there, you put in the time and the effort and the energy, it's hugely rewarding. So now your go to. So as you mentioned, you do some option trading. You're looking for news events. I mean, I love that. I run a hedge fund, and our fund is actually called the Catalyst Plus Fund, and we're huge into catalysts and into things that make the market move, because a stock is down doesn't mean it'll go up. It doesn't mean it'll go lower, right? So once you understand kind of how things work and you can identify these catalysts, whatever they are, whether news or whatever type of filing might get things going, there's some really awesome opportunities that come from that. So how do you so are you looking just at option volume, or are you looking for specific news related things? What's your catalyst? How do you find it?
Yeah. So my trading with news has always just been related to, a lot of headlines and stuff. I follow a bunch of different news sources, Bloomberg's, and, like I have a scanner that I use. Like I have a bunch of other tools and news sources, trade the news. And, I react based off speed, like, because, if you're trading markets, one piece of news can make a stock pop 5 or 10% in minutes. And actually, it was kind of nostalgic because Spirit Airlines they just declared bankruptcy. Then that was actually a headline I used to look for in the past, buy puts on that Chapter 11. And it was kind of nostalgic because that was actually the trade when I was featured on the Wall Street Journal. I had a trade on that. They were going to get acquired by JetBlue for 32 a share. The stock was 25. I picked up calls right before the halt up, and those calls went like 1,000%. And this was like 4 years ago. But
Yeah.
over the years, my trading, I would say, has evolved. I still do news trading. It's not my number one. I've actually evolved to be more of a Swiss Army knife. So I'll trade, like I said, option spreads. I do a lot of call credit spreads. I'll do debit spreads. Just kind of being a Swiss Army knife. Like actually, right now, I'm trying to use AI a lot for trading. Like I'm automating systems to help just execute my trades for me, or at the very least, make my research process that more efficient. So that's just kind of where I'm at. But yeah, always evolving.
That's great, man. AI is definitely there. There's been some funny kind of headlines around AI and trading, and I've been seeing how some of the big hedge funds out there are saying, AI is a bit of hype, right? Ken Griffin of Citadel, big hedge fund, super successful, making tons of money, and he's like, I don't know if we've noticed a huge change for us and our business. And it's interesting because they've got thousands of analysts and tons of technology already in place, but for the individual trader or for smaller funds like myself, man, AI has been like huge. It's been massively helpful in automating some of the research process, automating some of the scanners and some of the things that we can use. And I haven't taken it to the level. We've got a couple regulations we got to work with for automating trades themselves, but so much else has been facilitated by the use of AI. It's amazing. So what's your kind of favorite one or two things you're doing with AI in relation to your trading right now?
Yeah, well, just going from a fundamental perspective of AI, like AI is so useful because it solves a problem where it buys back your time, right? So things that used to take an days, months, weeks, years really to create or to research or to anything can really be done in minutes and hours and days, depending on the project. So for my trading nowadays, I've created these systems and tools, and again, I'm learning so much about like API keys and MCPs and like all these things to tie in. Um, I'm using it just to create me tools that make my either investing easier, my trading easier, and really, if you want to be a good trader, you want to zero out your emotions, right? And the best traders, I think, do that, and investors, because they stick to their process, they stick to their rules, and they execute based on the system. So right now, nowadays, I use Claude a lot. I have like the high subscription. I use Perplexity Computer, and I've developed a dashboard, a scanner, like different tools that I'm using on a daily basis, in which I'm trying to be transparent with my audience. Like, hey guys, I've evolved every single time. News trading used to be great. Used to be my bread and butter. It worked today, but sometimes it's always not there. I do like option selling, and that's great too. But hey, vols are a little bit lower now. We're at all time highs. Like, the premium isn't there. So, okay, I got to adjust. And I'm going to use AI to run me my research. Instead of manually typing 30 tickers a day and seeing the technical indicators or whatever, I type in my scanner. It runs 500 tickers in 30 seconds. It'll give me long and short scores. And bam, I know how, okay, this is a good risk to reward trade. I look at the setup, checks off, I take it. If not, I don't. So, and I had a crazy example with it this past weekend. But yeah, I just, use Claude, use Perplexity, and curiosity solves a lot of things.
That's great. I find that a lot of traders that I talk to, especially people that are kind of newer into the market and so on, and kind of getting a feel for how to trade and what they want to do and so on. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, right? Which is, what's going to happen to the market tomorrow? What's going on? How much risk am I actually taking? A lot of people don't even really understand what their risk is, right? If you're talking on the individual trader level, I think a lot of people just say, well, what's my worst case scenario? How much, if this goes to zero, how much am I losing? And that's about as far as risk levels go. I run a hedge fund. When I talk to, institutional investors, they don't even initially don't care about my returns. They say, how do you
Mm,
manage risk? They want to know that I'm
mm,
profitable, that I'm making money. But the first thing they really care about is risk, right?
right,
How are you managing risk? Tell me your daily returns. Tell me Sharpe ratios. Tell me all this stuff. Because obviously they're going to put in larger amounts, and they've got a lot of kind of correlated risk on the table with that. But it just reminds me, whenever I talk to kind of individual traders, people are much more inclined to, how much can I make, right?
right.
Institutions want to know, what am I risking? The individual wants to know, how much can I make, right? And risk is kind of like, well, I'm fine, I don't need this money to live, right? And all the typical stuff that we hear. And so
Right.
I think it's so helpful. One thing that AI can do for any trader at any level is give you the data you need to know to really understand the risk you're taking. So then you're not, my goal for my own trading, and for everybody that ever wants to get involved in trading, is to feel confident enough in what you have going that you would put your most important life savings to work, right? Instead of,
Hmm.
this is all risk capital and so on, because then that gives everybody kind of this out of, well, this is pure risk and I don't really care if I lose it. I think trading needs to be treated much more as, this is real money that I can make real money on, but also I can't control how much money I make, but I can control how much money I lose. And
Mm,
and AI can give us such important metrics on that so easily, right? That the institutions want and that we should know for our own trading. Why, you know, I've heard so many people talk about how much money they're going to risk trading and so on. And I always say, okay, so if you put $10,000 in a trading account and it's not going to affect your life if it goes to zero, why not just take $10,000 and light it on fire? Like, why wouldn't you just do that? That's it sounds really similar. And so what I think you're saying, and then what I've seen so much of, especially in early traders, is AI gives us such important info so that we can manage our investment. Why would you not take
yeah.
$10,000 and try to turn it into 20, and then not think of that additional $10,000 as play money, but think, I just made $10,000, and now I got to make more on that and on that and on that. And so I think that's such a big advantage that we have from AI.
Yeah. I think AI, it's just, to me, it's just so fascinating, like the possibilities of it, like, as a hedge fund, I'm sure in your past, you'd have to diligently, and me too with my long term investments, like go through the 10Ks manually, go through the prior earnings calls and reports and videos and analyst targets. And you do all that research, and that takes a long time because when it comes to our money, right, like it's so emotionally involved for trading and investing because when you make money, you feel like the man, you feel awesome. You know, let's go take a vacation, let's go spend more. You feel great. But when you lose money, it's like, oh, should I be investing with them? Should I? Oh, I should definitely not be trading. Like it plays this mental game with you. But I think what AI is doing is for a retail person like me is and other traders is that it is starting to bridge that gap between retails versus institutions. Now, institutions fundamentally have way more tools and will always have more tools than retail. It's just the facts. Also, algos trade like 85% of the volume. I mean, I visited my aunt on Wall Street a month and a half ago, and I saw her execute some big trades like 12 and $14 million, JP Morgan put collar spreads or all these jargons. And I actually did see her do this stuff. And it's like, that's crazy. And now with these tools, I mean, like Claude, Perplexity Computer, like run your scans, run your reports, run your like you can run your own projections. Like I've actually been building a tool that helps me do that for my long-term investments, and it can build me out a bull case, bear case, and base case, 1, 3, 5 year horizons. And all the live financials are pulled in, all the earnings reports from the last 5 years, and price targets, and it's just great. And I think AI more than ever, you can be as creative as you want. There's really no limit. And it's literally why I don't want to go out, or sometimes I just want to hang in. And people are like, why don't you want to go out? And I'm like, man, I just want to build stuff. It's so cool. Like I can code stuff. I didn't even know how to code. I studied finance. I know how to code now. It's crazy.
It, I recently had an experience with this on AI, and I was coding something, and I was
Yeah.
literally like, I was just sitting coding this stuff, and it was almost like funny. I'm like, I don't know how to code, and here I am building these programs that are wild, right? And at our hedge fund, we've had quite a few super coder humans working with us, and computer science guys, and done some super complex stuff. And it's like, I'm doing a lot of stuff for fun right now, and kind of for my own information as far as the market goes. And it's become, it's like real, and it's happening, and it's
Hmm.
kind of awesome. So that's great. And the thing I like to always tell everybody, I talk to people and they say, well, I don't know how to use AI. And so I always just say, well, just type into AI, how do I use you? And then
That's a good stepping. So,
it's a decent step one, right? It'll it'll
right.
it'll give you some great ideas, and so there's no excuse. We have this major amount of information, and it's so crazy helpful for the individual trader, for smaller funds. I mean, it's huge. What have been some of your favorite trades you've taken in the last week or two? I mean, obviously Intel was awesome. That was a great trade. What are some other ones you've been watching and having a good run with?
Yeah, just a variety. On my account, I post different. I've always been big on education because I think if you want to be in the financial markets, you need to be educated. There's risk involved here. Like people see the cool returns and the lifestyle, and like, yes, that is all very possible because it's the compounding effect, and you can do well in the market. You can also do terrible and lose, and you know just not be practicing healthy, smart trading discipline habits, right? So I'm always big on transparency, showing like my systems or my strategies, like doing videos as to why I'm entering something. And then when I educate others and post the videos, then I know, okay, if I see this trade set up again, I've executed this before, I've talked about it. I know why, I know my risk, and I know my strategy. Um, so like recently, I think it was this week, I had my scanner run me long and short setups for swing trades based on different types of swing trades. So swing trading environments can be, breakouts and mean reversion and reversals and things of that nature. And it pulls in all my scores based on metrics that are include like technical indicators and volume and things like that. And it gave a really high score to a ticker I've never traded. It's called INTU, and it gave a 93 score. I was like, I want to back test this. Sure enough, the market's still up, 0.5% today, 1% the next day. I take a put option on it, and I get a 60% return overnight. The stock sold 3%, and that AI helped me build that. AI helped me build a tool that's like, you know, just generating new trade ideas for me. And on another note with that, is I've been working with Public, and Public is a brokerage firm, and we have a great relationship. And they're offering a tool where you can trade agentically, in which you can they give you API keys on your account to where you can link it to Python, you can link it to Claude and like all the other softwares to help you actually execute your trades. So I'm actually developing a system like that to just sell credit spreads on SPY, IWM, and QQQ. Like I have metrics on scores, like based on where VIX is and based on where the market is and things like that. But just continue to build stuff daily. Use my curiosity. I love to learn, and I love to just take what I've learned in my career and display it to others. And yeah,
That's awesome, man. It is so exciting once, there was such a big barrier before, and
hmm
now it's just like you said, curiosity, some patience, a little bit of work, and you can figure a lot of things out. And the stock market, unlike so many things out there, the stock market has so much data. And it's like
hmm
AI heaven for us, right? Because there's so much data, and now we have a way to kind of process and look through it and find some cool things to do. And there's a little something for everybody, whether you want to be a day trader, swing trader, if you're looking for long-term investments, there's so much cool stuff to be done there. So
definitely.
that is great. Do you have any stocks on your radar right now? Where do you see some upcoming opportunity?
Yes. So being a former power trader, well, I'm still involved in the industry in different ways, but trading electricity has really opened my eyes to A, executing different types of trades, but B, also just knowing that commodities is a really big market. Like everybody knows about the stock market because of CNBC. Your mom and dad have 401ks, and you have your right Dave Ramsey invest 15%. Like we know it's mainstream just because we see it, and we also use these products daily. Apple and Amazon, right? Now, trading power has really taught me, for one, with the AI trade, that everybody has talked about NVIDIA, and rightfully so. The chips are amazing. I have an NVIDIA in my PC for 5 years, the best thing I ever bought. The problem is that no one's really talking about the power that all these AI data centers are consuming. They consume massive megawatt loads per hour, and they need this gen by different sources. So it could be like coal and nat gas and solar and nuclear and all this stuff. And my theory, and or I guess based on what I learned, is one, 60% of the data centers are using nat gas as their main resources for these data centers. And two, nuclear is so clean and efficient. Having seen a nuclear power plant myself, my old company, we toured the largest nuke in the US, Vogel, and it's really opened my eyes. So I think in terms of a long-term investment perspective, I mean, you have a company like EQT, which is natural gas, and their market cap's like 35 billion. That's the largest nat gas provider in the United States, and the largest, an Nvidia is 5 trillion. So just from a market cap perspective,
Yeah.
Jensen Huang himself said the five parts for the AI trade include like energy, infrastructure, chips, and then there were two other ones, but energy was up there. And no one's talking as much about energy. I also love nuclear. I mean, a lot of these, if people knew how powerful one uranium pellet is in equivalence to gen output, it's insane. So I would say in terms of long-term investment ideas, I love nuclear right now. I love nat gas. I also really like fintech, like financial technology. Like as a young person myself, my thesis is that in the longer term, I think older money may start to transfer out of these legacy banks because they just either offer the not good interest rates or they don't have enough tools. The UI is not as user friendly, in my opinion. So I could see money being shifted to like a SoFi or to a Robinhood or to these other user friendly, younger crowd oriented investing slash trading, people. And I mean, that's where I invest my money personally. So I like fintech. I like clean, nat gas and nuclear specifically. And then, yeah, always just on the lookout for good opportunities. Always doing my research too before making an investment. That's what I was taught to do. So, yeah,
That's awesome. I think that's a great space. Certainly, the energy play for these data centers is going to
it's
be
huge.
huge. Probably a lot of
It's huge.
volatility around that. So I mean, we've seen utility companies do things that they haven't done like ever.
Mhm.
I mean, the utility trade was always like
The
well,
boring
if
trade.
if everything's doing nothing, or if everything's coming down, that's our defensive trade, right? People got to pay their electric bill, and now we've seen these utility
Sure.
companies go nuts.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That's great stuff, man. I think there's so many good things people can do right now that's right at their fingertips and very accessible. And it sounds like you're doing that and doing it to a pretty good extent and sharing what you're learning with others. Tell my listeners where they can find out more and learn about what you're doing and keep an eye on everything.
Yeah. So my X handle is at Vincent Delisi. It's just my name. I'm also on YouTube, Vincent Delisi. And I'm creating another Twitter slash, service slash, mentorship thing in the process. It's called AI Trade Systems. This is where I'm creating certain softwares and systems to really help people take their trading and investing and making it more simple. Some people don't really know how to prompt AI. Some people don't have the time or they don't want to pay for a Claude and all this other things. But I've really just been really dialed in on focusing on making products that people would use. Like I created this tool called Anchor, and now I can run my projections on my long-term investments in seconds. It's just really cool. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I'm always open through the DMs and stuff, and always looking to learn from others and then just get to know other traders because it's really cool. When I started my platform, I didn't have a lot of followers. I was lonely. I'm the only trader in Raleigh, and now I actually know traders I met from Raleigh. I'm actually friends with them. Like I was at one of their guys' weddings 2 months ago, and he has his Discord room. So it's just cool. And like I was in New York
Yeah.
6 weeks ago, and now I met my friends up there. It's just like I have a network now that I'm really thankful that I built, but also it's been built by just meeting guys like you or guys like people from I've never met someone from Utah before. Like to me, it's just so cool what social media can do. If it's leveraged right and then you pair it with AI, I think you can do some cool things and trading and investing.
Totally. There's the opportunities are endless. So that's
100%.
awesome. And we'll make sure to include those links with this episode. But that's great
Yeah.
stuff, man.
I guess
I
if you got the time, I mean, I asked my audience if, I could ask you a question. I'm always
absolutely.
wanting to just learn from, hedge fund guys. So I guess one of my friends said, and you might not want to spill the sauce, but he says, walk me through your process of how you find winning investments. Or I guess like you said your Catalyst news based. So is that like looking at 10Ks? Is that looking at like, your analysts, your quants, or whoever you work with? Like what is your, or you don't have to share it, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, yeah. What's our process? So we look at a series of things. So we have our analysts and AI, of course, running through pretty much any filing of a company that we're looking at trading. So we're going to look at, at least the last year or two of any filing related to that company. But we are always kind of out looking for, big insider purchases. We're looking for
Hmm.
any, upcoming filing that may happen. Obviously, any rumors of bankruptcies or any rumors of big acquisitions. That makes our radar. And so we scan for that. And we do love looking at vol as well because we do a lot with options in the hedge fund. So we're scanning for any kind of surges in volume in option pricing and activity there. So those are kind of some of our big focuses.
That's awesome. And I guess just how did you get into the industry? I mean, you've been in it for 20 years, you told me. Like, what is your journey like? And I'm just kind of curious. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's been at it for 20 plus years, and I started working, kind of sounds like a bit of what you've done. I started in the industry and did some internships and worked at a couple of prop firms, and
Mm.
immediately, even with such a lack of technology that existed in the early 2000s, immediately I said, I'm going to do this myself and not work for a big firm, which there would have been some benefits in staying on with some of these bigger firms, but I just said I want to do this myself, and I did it myself, and I formed a lot of different trading programs and methodologies and so on, and then went through all the licensing processes and started bringing on clients and managing money for other people, and just kind of grew that into an actual hedge fund.
That's awesome. I think it's great, to just believe in yourself. I think it's always riskier at first, right? But sometimes that's the greatest things in life can be on the other side, the risk that you do or don't take. And of course, you have to live with either outcome. But I mean, I think if you put in the time, you're passionate, you're always learning, you're staying diligent, and you just want it that bad, like you can make something happen. So I think just for me, picking your brain, like that's like pretty inspiring, to hear that because,
Yeah.
you know, um, it can be a tough journey sometimes. But now it's like things are helping us make it easier. Just one more question I had, and then that'll be it for me. But are you guys using AI or agents at all in workflows or
Yeah, yeah, we do a lot. We have used AI to create, a lot of programs and to kind of help with the workflow of, scanning.
okay.
A lot of our strategy is, sounds similar to you in scanning, news and filings
Yeah.
and certain price changes and certain things. And so there's a lot of automation that has gone into that AI has simplified hugely. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to be a statistic on letting certain people go in the workforce because they're being replaced with AI, but we've done that at our hedge fund. We've been able to reduce our headcount a little bit and increase our productivity because of AI, because of the things we can automate now that were so much more complicated before.
Yeah, and I think like to anybody watching this, learning from me, learning from Jared, like really take AI seriously. Like learn it as much as you can. Just start small and over time, or ask a mentor or somebody, because this real when they say it's comfort jobs, it is because like I goes back to point one, it's so efficient and it's going to replace, I hate to say it, people who maybe are not as efficient or maybe they're not as accurate, right? Like that's why AI is so on point with some of these things. So I think like for anybody listening, like how can you make your life better with AI? Like whether it just be
Yeah,
a simple decision like, you know, running your your I don't know, your budget or something, or like making a workout plan for you. Like start really small. But then over time, like you can use that creativity with the skill and then also leverage that. So I think anybody watching, if you're going to listen to anything from me, just start to learn AI because the capabilities are amazing. So,
yeah, that's absolutely true. And I think people feel overwhelmed by it, like, oh, this is so much technology, and it's actually the easiest to use technology that's probably ever existed on the planet. So, so we when I first started trading, we would have if I ever switched brokers, learning just a new broker platform in like 2002 was like the most difficult thing on the planet. There was no I don't think YouTube existed. There was no information on the internet about anything, and you would have to call these brokers, and they would try to walk you through it, and there was no way to share a screen, and it was the worst. And now we have so much great technology. So I think that's a super good point. Leverage the technology, use it for your good. It's accessible, it's free in most cases, very
mhm.
inexpensive in other cases. It's just available for all. So no reason not to put it to work.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's That's great stuff. Well, Vincent, thanks again for being on the podcast, man. I will definitely keep track of your journey, and we'd love to have you on again in the future. I think there's some really good things we can kind of keep touching on and follow up on. So thanks again for your time, your thoughts, your everything today. This was great.
Yeah, Jared, thanks for having me on. And, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and I can learn more about your journey and picking my brain. It's always cool to just talk with people from different states, different walks of life, different investors and traders, and adding that to my list. So, 20-year hedge fund manager. Thanks, Jared.
Absolutely. Thanks again for being on.